What does hard time teach us? Are you ready to give up? Is the burden too hard to bear? You just want to end everything? Now, before you leave the page, please give me just 45 minutes of your time in exchange of some precious lessons to learn. Stay with me, please. Questions most of us would ask: why did God create a world in which suffering exists? If you look around, you will see all kinds of sufferings. A family that has nothing on their table to eat, a patient moaning of pain in his hospital bed, a husband and wife fighting over the custody of their child, mass killing, corruption, people suffering from extreme poverty. And because of these, others may reject God, saying that suffering disproves his existence. Yet others may try to redefine God, saying that suffering proves his limitations. What can we learn from the Bible about why we have to suffer? Suffering is part of being human. Our world is imperfect. A world created perfectly by God in the beginning, turned imperfect because of sin, the impact of which leads to inevitably suffering. For the wages of sin is death. We get hurt, we get sick, we die. We live in a fallen world. If we step on a rake and it hits us on the head, we don't need to wonder what God is teaching us. We just need to watch where we are walking next time. The righteous and the unrighteous alike see and enjoy the beauty of nature. They feel the breeze, the rain, and the same way the righteous and unrighteous alike live with suffering as a consequence of the fall. God uses suffering for a reason. Psalms 119, verse 67. Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I keep your word. When everything seems to be okay, we sometimes get tempted to go our way. In these moments, God tries to remind us. He calls our attention through afflictions to remember him and bring us back to him. But God, remember, is a gracious Father who disciplines his children, correcting us so we get back on the righteous path of his word. He wants us to learn from our experiences of pain and suffering that all these are part of God's corrective and gracious plan for us. Romans 5:3-4. We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces, number 1, endurance. Number 2, endurance produces character. And character produces hope. God uses suffering to build our character. Think of something that happened in your life that you knew was wrong, and you did it anyway. You suffered, right? And went through great pain. God chooses to use trial sometimes, not to punish, not even to correct, but to construct. God uses suffering for his glory. No biblical figure's life illustrates this truth more vividly than Joseph's life. You know Joseph, the man with many coats, colored coats, from the moment he was 27 years old to his rise to power in Egypt. At the age of 30, we see him endure jealousy, betrayal, enslavement, false accusation, and imprisonment. More suffering than any person can endure in an entire lifetime. Yet he declared to the same brothers who betrayed him and sold him to slavery, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Genesis 50:20. Through all the sufferings Joseph went through in his life, he learned to see God's providence. Romans 8:28. We know that all things work together for good for those who are called according to his purpose. When we too face sufferings, nothing will help us more than rediscover the doctrine of providence and an understanding that God orders all things, controls all things, and is present in all things for our good and for His glory. I share the gospel to you because of the joy, the hope, and the love that I find in Jesus' word. May you all be blessed, and may your hearts be receptive to His word. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Take care and stay healthy.